This episode is brought to you by Ursa Minor Outfitters. Folks, I'm absolutely in love with my Loon mug. It's handmade, it's an absolute piece of art. Whether it's at the office or at the house, people keep asking to check it out. If you're not a Loon fan, they also have other beautiful mugs for wildlife fans of moose, bears, and eagles. They specialize in products highlighting the outdoors and local pride through quality design by local artists. They've even started expanding into items beyond mugs, like apparel, dog accessories, and soon candles and more. They also try to partner and highlight other small businesses, and in some cases, forego profits in lieu of charitable giving to help their community, such as the dog rescue. So check them out, UrsaMinorOutfitters.com, and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And for our four-legged hiking partners, they also have a portable silicone dog bowl and also a sweet over-the-collar dog bandana. Go check them out, UrsaMinorOutfitters.com, and don't forget to enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Welcome, everyone, to the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I'm your host, Ivan, and together we'll embark on a weekly journey connecting with extraordinary hikers from all corners of the U.S. and beyond. Throughout these spring months, we've had the privilege of conversing with remarkable individuals. Their experiences and adventures will leave you yearning to hit the trails. In this week's episode, we're heading to the Lake Tahoe region to talk to an amazing guest. Her name is Rachel, and you can follow her outdoor adventures on Instagram at Rachel Opendorf. Rachel shares with us some of her favorite places in and around Lake Tahoe, including the majestic Lake Aloha, her unforgettable trip to Half Dome, and how she's been able to build out such a great hiking community online. Without further ado, let's jump into this episode with our guest, Rachel. Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I'm really stoked to have this guest on. Her name is Rachel, and she's from the Lake Tahoe region, and I'm excited to talk to her all about Lake Tahoe and some of the adventures she's done across the Southwest. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. For listeners that haven't had a chance to follow your journey online, can you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Hey, Ivan, thanks for having me, of course. I really appreciate you. So I'm actually born in Sacramento, California, and then I actually am raised in southern Idaho. We moved to Idaho when I was about 5 years old to a small town called Burley. If something to gauge it, it's by Twin Falls. And I grew up there with my family and lived a little bit in Utah as well. And now my husband and I are here in Nevada, and we're going on 10 years of being in the Tahoe region, which we absolutely love.
I had the chance to make it to Tahoe for the first time ever in 2023, and I fell in love with the place. It'd been on my bucket list, and I ended up going in September.
Ooh, good time. Perfect time.
Beautiful.
Do you mind if I ask what you did?
Yeah. So my buddy, he has one of those timeshares. So nice. He had a use it or lose it pass. We stayed over, I forgot the resort name, but it's next to the Safeway on the Nevada side.
Yes, I'm familiar with that area. I don't know the name, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we kind of just explored the region, did a little bit of hiking and biking, and then, got to check it out. And I think we hit it just right because I want to say it was either right before Labor Day weekend or right after. So it wasn't as crazy as I thought it would be as far as like crowds, yeah.
Oh, good time. That's great. That's like my favorite time.
And you know, Rachel, one thing that we always like to ask our guests is getting their origin story on their hiking experience. So for you, how'd you get started hiking and how long have you been doing it for?
So I actually got into hiking about 7 years ago. My older sister, Kristen, was a big avid hiker, and she was always like, come hiking with me, come here, come do this. And I actually was like, no. I was like, I don't like to hike. I'm like, I hate it. Like, don't bring me. Quit asking me. And I was going through a time where I was just like, I just need to just go do something I'm not used to, do something I'm not comfortable with, really, something that's just out of my element. And so I actually went on a sister trip with my sister to Moab, and she planned out this day weekend for us, and we went and did like Delicate Arch. We ended up doing Corona Arch. At that time was not really known. Like, it's known, but it wasn't as crowded as it is now. Like, now there's a ton of people going to it, but it was so at that time in my life, it was so mind blowing because it was just it made my stresses and all of my like problems feel so insignificant in the grand scheme of things. I was like, this is why you do this. And she was like, this is why I want you to come with me. And it was just one of those like, you share what you love, right? You want people to experience what you're feeling because you're happy, it's exciting. And so I'm like, I get it. Like I get it now. And so from that point, I've just been like, what's next? What else can I do? And like from that point on, it launched me into just hiking in general, just like little dabbles into hiking, not like complete avid hiker like I am now, but like just into them. Like, so I've been planning out hikes ever since.
I think from your feed, you and your sister have done regular sister trips to some other national parks and outdoor experiences, right?
Yeah. So last year, so it's been a while since we actually did like a true hiking one together, and we got all three of my sisters. So there's three of us. I have two older sisters, and then there's me. And we planned a trip to Canyonlands last year, and we went in June. It was like right before it was getting crazy summertime, but the weather happened to be spectacular. And we went and did like, my sister, she's so nonchalant. She's like, yeah, it's like 15 miles. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, it's still like, like, I still am like, I'm down to do it, but I'm still just like nonchalantly, yeah, 15 miles, of course. Like, why not? And so my oldest sister, she's like me. She's more of like the sauntering kind of hiker where we're like, oh my gosh, look at this flower. Oh my gosh, look at this rock. Oh, what's that crest? Like we're looking at everything you can think of. And then my other sister is like, come on, we need to go. Like pick up the pace. I want to get back so we can go out to dinner and so we can go do this. So we're like trickling around, like just following my other sister as we're doing this trail. But Canyonlands, it was my first time there and it was incredible. We did this loop trail and it just like takes you through like slot canyons and like this cave sort of thing. And like you just see like the views are insane. And it was so wild. Like when you drive into Canyonlands, there's like a farm, there's like a ranch. Some dude like lives there. I was like, how do you get this set up? How do you get to be the guy that lives in a national park, let alone Canyonland? He's got like cows grazing and he has like his tractor and he's just like chilling. I'm like, this guy, this guy right here is living the life. It was so pretty and it was so fun to do it with my sisters and just like seeing us all now in our lives, like being able to like do something like that together. Because we kind of got lost at one point, but none of us were like worried because we're just like, let's just keep going. We'll take a detour, like all experienced hikers. It was so fun. And I love doing trips like that because you just have your family with you and you're experiencing such a beautiful moment together. Something that I used to hate and now love. So it was just funny because they're always like, I told you. And I'm like, I get it. I'm the younger sister.
Oh, that's awesome that you're able to share those experiences with your siblings. And Southern Utah is just something else.
I love it.
Last April was the first time making it out to Canyonlands, Arches, and Capitol Reef. And I
cool.
barely scratched the surface of that area. It's just
so massive.
Yeah.
And then even like other parks that aren't even or areas that aren't even parks, I'm always just like, okay, Utah, we get it.
Yeah.
Like we get it.
Yeah. When your state parks should be national parks. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's like Utah, just the whole state. Just call it a whole national park.
Well, Rachel, we kind of already touched base on it, but you're from the beautiful Lake Tahoe region. How would you describe the hiking scene and your local trails?
So we've been here now almost 10 years, which is like crazy to think about. But when we first got here, not as busy as it is now, like at all. Like it's like night and day over the last 5 years, really. But the hiking scene has always been big. This whole area, like you've got the winter skiing, snowboarding, all the snow activities. And then you have like the hikers, you have bikers, you have really everything you can think of in this whole area. It's like it covers every outdoor activity. And so that's always been this area. But I feel like not just COVID, but just like in general, I'm on the Nevada side. So you have everyone coming over here and just like trying this gorgeous area, realizing like, get away from the cities, get away from the hustle and bustle. So now that hustle and bustle is here, but it's a different dynamic. It's a whole different realm because you're outside and people are friendly. They're chill. Everyone's just like trying something new, getting out of their comfort zones and everything. So it's really been cool to see, like, as much as some people like harp on the tourists, I love seeing people enjoying nature and being out here and just taking it in. And it's something that I've always been like, man, I take it for granted sometimes. I live so close to Tahoe. Like Tahoe is like a 25-minute drive for me. Up the hill, there I am. And we do this one hike a lot. And it's a sunset hike and it's one of our favorites and it's called Monkey Rock. And we were up there one evening and this family was up there and there was a guy just standing there with his family, like hugging them. I want to say he said he was from somewhere over in Europe. And then he was telling us how he's never been somewhere with these beautiful trees and the water and like these boulders. He's like, and it was just the sweetest thing. Like, he's just like, this is incredible. He's like, I've never seen this all in one place. He's all, I'm here with my family. It was just like, I'm like, this is why we have these places. Like, this is what life is, like to be out here experiencing our beautiful world. And it was just so like made you really appreciate our planet, really, just like in let alone the area. But I was just like, people get it. Like, you give them a chance, they get it.
It's always great to see new people explore your region because sometimes, especially if it's a popular hike that you do frequently, it's a nice reminder of like how special it is when somebody else can appreciate how special it is.
Exactly. Like, I'm a repeat million person doing that same trail, but I'm like, it doesn't change seeing the excitement. And myself, I'm just like, this is so cool. I'm like, we get to do this all the time. And you have people just like, you live in this area? I'm like, yeah. And it's just, I don't want to be here. Like, take a note. Like, you can get here.
Yeah. Now, Lake Tahoe is so huge. Like, I knew going to it that it was a huge lake, but like actually being there and seeing how massive it is, you already said, there's the Nevada side, there's the California side. Have you found that the lake has different outdoor experiences depending on the region, whether it's like the California side, Nevada side, or even just north, south, east, west?
I've found that the South Lake side is very touristy. It's kind of the go-to because you have the resorts, you have the casinos on the Nevada side, of course. But then you have like all the other Airbnbs and everything down south. But it's also the gem of the lake, which is, well, that people would say it is Emerald Bay. And it's just like, at one point, it was the most photographed area, like, I want to say ever. At one point. Somebody told me that, but it's gorgeous. So I can see why it's so popular down there. West side, haven't really been able to hike around the west side of the lake that much, but there are some beautiful areas over there as well. North and east side are my go-to beach areas. They just have like more untouched beach than usual. Like, and it's just, they're harder to get to. So, and anything that's harder to get to means less people, which we love. But at the same time, when you find those areas, you just appreciate them more and you just really keep them sacred. Like, I don't mind sharing locations with people when I go to certain areas, but it's just about, respecting that area and remembering that it exists for us to enjoy and like take it in. But at the same time, we need to protect it. And so, like, I know now, like, I don't know if you saw like over 4th of July, like the Zephyr Cove area, unfortunately. So stuff like that gets really hard to like share this place with everybody. It gets frustrating. It's not my place to withhold from people. I feel that I have some sort of responsibility in sharing on people to just be aware of what you're doing and just being aware of any beautiful outdoor area in general of how to take care of it. Because we all want to experience these gorgeous places, but if they're all gone to shit from trash, sorry, can't do it. So it's, don't treat it as a one and done. Like, save it for the next person and especially special places that you find dear and near to your heart, because then they can be there for everyone else to experience someday.
I'm glad you mentioned Zephyr Cove because that's where I was frequently going to because it was just right down the street from where we were staying. And to see that video of just how trashed it was compared to what I saw.
It's funny because it blows your mind, right? People's actions just blow your mind. And I just couldn't Keep Tahoe Blue is a wonderful organization that has just geared up all the time. They're always gearing up for everything, but they live and breathe Lake Tahoe. So they try so hard to advocate and remind people how to take care of that place. So it's cool that they're implementing a lot of new things for this year in general for the lake. But yeah, that whole thing last year was wild.
I couldn't believe it. And I didn't realize it, but you guys have the busy season in the summer because it's, beautiful. The weather's nice. You can enjoy the lake. But your winter months, you guys don't slow down either because you have the great ski resorts. And that's something that I noticed with you is that the winter months don't slow you down either. You've been on some epic hikes during the winter months. Yeah.
I used to hate winter. I'm trying to get into it, and Tahoe has kind of forced me into it because I'm I don't want to be cooped up in this beautiful area. I always have friends that are come skiing, come snowboarding with me. I'm just you guys, I have knees and they're for hiking, and I cannot do both. And priorities are my thing right now, and I will save them for the trails. I'm sorry. I understand why they don't come hiking with me. It's because they're all off skiing and snowboarding. So it's funny that you say summer's so popular because whenever I talk to people about Tahoe, they're like, summer in Tahoe, I only go there for the winter. And I'm always just like,
Oh,
what?
really?
Yeah, it's like completely opposite for them. So I'm just like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, that lake's too cold no matter what. And I'm like, well, I mean, it is, but I mean, how much of a wuss are? No, I'm just kidding. No, it is very cold lake, but the wintertime is so pretty up here. It's insanely busy. Same thing. Like you've got the ski resorts all over the lake that are just those guys are diehard. They will drive in any conditions to get to these resorts and ski and snowboard. And I'm like, I got to give it to them. So I'm like, I need to be a little diehard about getting on some trails. And so I've been snowshoeing a lot lately. We got a pair of snowshoes. We bought them last year actually because of that insane winter we had. Just like mounds and mounds of snow. We had like, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you, Ivan. It was so ridiculous, the amount of snow that I was like, I fucking hate snow. But at the same time, it was so beautiful. It was amazing. Like, and oddly enough, this year, we don't even have a winter like that, like at all compared to it. But strangely, I missed that amount of snow because it
Really?
felt, yeah, because it kept people away. It was like we had the winters for just us. And I was just like, this is crazy not to see people here. But I get it because it's super dangerous. Like, you can't get here. It was wild. Like we go to this area south of South Lake, which is one of our favorite hiking areas. And there's an information station there and it was covered. It was covered in snow. It had to be at least 30, 40 feet. It was insane. And I was just like, and it didn't melt until like July, like end of July. And it was insane just to see that amount of snow. We couldn't get to the mountain peaks around Tahoe until middle of July, August for some of them.
That's
At least I
wild.
could. It was crazy. And I didn't want to risk like trying to get up there when there was a ton of snow because I always get paranoid, like avalanches and stuff like that. And everyone else is like, just do it. And I'm like, I can't do it. And so, but it was cool. And so this year we've just been like, we found some random trails around South Lake that we just snowshoed. That was really cool. And then we actually, like last weekend, we took a few of our friends up down south and did a hike to a gorgeous area. And it's endless. This whole area just has so much to offer as far as not just the lake, but just everything around it, like its whole basin. It's honestly like an adventure paradise. Like I always say, I'm like, you could do anything. Like you can just go
Yeah.
find it, pull over and go sledding wherever you want. It doesn't even matter. It could be someone's house. I don't know, but you could do it. No, just kidding. It's not
Oh, and I'm glad you mentioned it's an outdoor paradise because there's some things off the trail that are really unique to Tahoe, and that's the hot springs. And you got a chance to visit some of those.
Yes. So Mammoth area, the whole Mammoth Lakes and all that, that's like 3 hours south of us. So it's not far at all. And so there's hot springs down there. And I actually haven't been to a hot spring in a while, but I got injured over the summer and I injured my leg pretty bad where I don't trust myself getting in hot springs. I don't want to get something in my leg, but but the hot springs down there are awesome. They're really pretty. They're usually crowded a lot of the time now because they're more well known in the area, but they're so relaxing. They're so fun. Have you been to the hot springs?
Not in California, but Colorado and Washington. Yeah.
You guys have cool ones.
Yeah, but unfortunately for us, at least here in Washington, there's only one that's not privately owned. And like that one, you have to you got to have some sort of guide and you got to go deep into the North Cascades National Park to find it. The
Really?
other two are privately owned. So you got to book a reservation and it's not as crowded, but it definitely takes away from, the natural hot springs.
Yeah, just to get in there, you have to do they see you have to do reservations for the private ones? So you have to get in a list kind of thing?
Yeah, kind of like booking it out like a hotel almost. You pick the day, the time.
You guys have some busy ones. The ones out here down by Mammoth, it's first come, first serve. There's the ones off of 395 that are always busy, just packed with people. But they're cool. They're really cool.
Yeah.
And some people just camp out there. It's amazing out there. The whole drive in general is amazing.
And on the flip side, Rachel, I think one popular thing in the winter months, especially maybe for Tahoe residents and people visiting, is doing the polar bear plunge.
Oh, yes, Ivan. So a thing about it. If you ever come see me, it is a must that you have to do this polar plunge. I'm just kidding. If you want
No,
to be
yeah.
my friend, no, I'm just kidding. I make everybody risk their lives. No, just joking. No, it's so yes. So polar plunging is big here. Yeah, we're a bunch of crazies. We just get in that water, we can't feel anything, literally. And it's it's one of those things that it never gets easier. I think the easier part is the mindset when you get in there. Like I first did a polar plunge right during, I want to say when COVID happened. And it was just like in the heart of it. And I was like, it's chaos. I just need to go do something crazy and just get away from this. And I went, it was like middle of January. And I went at like 7:30 in the morning with my husband. And he's like, you're crazy, but whatever, let's do it. And so, and so I went and I did my first plunge and I was out there for like 5 or 6 minutes. And it was funny because I was like, I couldn't move faster. I was like, I couldn't move faster. So it wasn't really a choice. I was moving so slow. He's like, I thought I was going to come get you. And he said, we'll both be screwed because we can't move fast enough to get in from the lake. But it's such a cool thing. Like it was more of a thrill in the beginning. And now I do it as part of like my lifestyle. We actually purchased an ice cold bath. So we do icing all the time. And it has been a game changer on my joints. It's been a game changer on my muscle recovery because I'm getting older and it just feels so good. And now I'm like, when I get in Tahoe, I'm just like, this is nothing. Like it still hurts. Of course it hurts, but it's a different hurt and it's a whole euphoric experience. And my poor friends, we had them do it actually this past weekend and they were not liking it, but they did it. and it was awesome. It was so cool. And it's one of those, you got to work into it. And it's funny because my husband, he doesn't like getting in the water at all, even during summer, even when there's like a week of warm water, which who knows why, but there's a little time period at the end of the summer where it's slightly like tolerable,
Yeah.
and he gets in for like a moment, but like he wanted to do something new. So our goal this year is to do it once a month at the lake at least and get in that lake. So far we've done it every month. And so and he ices at home too. Like, so he'll do the ice bath as well. And so he loves that. But like Tahoe to him still is like, he's very resistant to it.
Oh, that is awesome. I got in when we went in September and I was surprised how cold it was because it was like 80 degrees during the day. So I was like, oh, it's going to be fine. Then you get in, it's like, oh, it's like 50 in there.
This is way different. Like a true alpine lake.
Exactly.
And it's crazy because when you're up there, like, and it's 80 like that, you get fried, you get burnt because the elevation.
Yeah.
So people forget, like, you're up there and you're like, it's so cold and it's freezing up here, but I'm sunburnt. like the water is really cold, but you will get burned.
Oh, that's for sure. Especially trying to warm up. Like that was the thing for me. Like as long as it's sunny, I could deal with it, like going in and out. But as soon as the cloud rolled in, I was shivering.
Oh my gosh, it changes everything. Or a slight breeze. I'm like,
exactly.
Wow, this is hard.
Oh man, that's awesome that you continue the tradition. Now it's a monthly thing.
Yeah, now it's a thing. Like it's just. And it's funny because I started doing we do about 3 minutes. I do anywhere from 3 minutes to 15, and 15 is like my max. Like I feel like no different if I go past 15 kind of thing. But in Tahoe, it's different because it's moving. The water's constantly moving. So you can't really build that little layer of you just holding still. Like you're feeling the pins and needles. And then when you can't feel anything, then it's like, okay, like I can go a little longer. I don't know if it's like I can do this. But it does for me personally. I feel like I can do it longer and I feel better about it compared to my husband. Not so much.
That's badass. I had to do an inadvertent cold plunge about 3 weeks ago.
Oh no.
I crashed my drone into a little walk bridge and it went into the river.
Oh no.
I could see it from the bridge and I was like, I need to go.
I have to get that.
Yeah, so I took off my shoes, took off my socks, went in with leggings, and it was right in the middle of the river, so I was way steep. But I was able to get it. And for folks that haven't had a cold plunge, it's better than coffee. The energy that you get afterwards, it's something else.
It is. It's a whole different experience. So we did this random one, hiking one time down by the lake, and I was like, I always bring my swimsuit just in case. I'm like, never know. I'm just going to jump in. And so I happened to jump in, and a group, they were definitely tourists. They came down As they're all like with their like GoPros and cameras, they like come down the beach and they just stop in their tracks as I'm getting out. And they're just like mouths drop. They're like, you're what? They're like, and this is like in November. So they were like shocked and they were like in their boots and their like big coats and everything. And I'm just like, hey, yeah. I'm like, don't mind me. And they're just like, you just get in there? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, wow, how cold is it? I'm like, it's cold. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. I was like, get in and find out. Try it
Yeah.
out. And they're just like, let your body tell you
Oh,
how cold it is.
exactly. Let them experience it firsthand. Now, switching gears, Rachel, we're both going into the spring months. I know you guys still got plenty of snow up in the mountains, but one of the beautiful things about the mountains is once the snow starts melting, you get that spring runoff, and your local waterfalls in and around Lake Tahoe must explode during the spring months. Is there a favorite spring waterfall hike that you like to do that you kind of tend to go back year after year?
The one closest to Tahoe that I like to do a lot all throughout the year is Eagle Falls, and that's down by South Lake. And it's beautiful during the winter. It's beautiful during spring, summer. It's a great trail, really cool. The water is flowing. And then another one I like to go look at is Glen Alpine. And so those are some waterfalls in South Lake area as well that are just like, they're roaring. Like they're so cool. And they're just beautiful because they're just kind of tucked away in this little area. Oh, they're so pretty. I love waterfalls.
Same. You know, for me, when I went there in September, a lot of them were kind of just a trickle.
Yeah, just
Um,
drying up.
yeah, but seeing the pictures of what they look like in the spring, it's just like, oh my gosh, they're
It's
just
crazy. There's some
they're
trails
growing.
that like especially last year, the trails from last year from that snow we got, the water runoff was insane. Like we were just constantly treading water at some point. So it's like this is insane. There's so much water everywhere. Like it's so cool.
Now, I know that it changes from year to year because it all depends on like how fast it heats up and if you get any late season snow. But do you find yourself like knowing which month might be the best month to go waterfall chasing to see that spring runoff?
It's kind of hard to say. Like I would probably go right now. Because it's not quite it's like right before it's like going to be slammed, but it's like gosh, end of April is really good. Early May would be a really good time to see them flowing. You know, who knows? We're still in March. We could be getting snow. We are getting snow this weekend, actually.
No way.
Yes.
Oh
Even though
man.
it was like 70 the other day, but we're getting snow this weekend. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to say. There's also like another pretty wild waterfall. It's Horsetail Falls. I don't know if you heard of that. It's in California. It's massive. You can see it from the freeway. And it's literally like this. It looks like a big old horsetail, like coming down the mountain. And we went there for the first time a few years ago. We had a pretty decent winter, but when we got there, like we got there after New Year's and it was so crazy. It was like, almost like terrifying. I was like, oh my gosh, this is massive. And we were the only ones there. And then it started raining and it was just like, it was this whole experience, like this roaring waterfall, just like cutting through the rocks. And I was just like, this is incredible. This is so cool. It's sketchy as fuck right now, but it's so cool. Like it was just like one of the neatest things to see. And I would recommend people seeing the Horsetail Falls. That's such a cool waterfall.
Oh, I'm gonna have to add it to the bucket list
Yeah.
for the next
Stay away
trip.
from the sides, but it's so cool. Like, don't get close to the edge.
Talking about bucket lists, you know, one place that's near Lake Tahoe that has been on my bucket list for backpacking potentially is the Desolation Wilderness. And you've had some really great experiences there. And one place that really caught my attention because of the name is Lake Aloha. Such a unique place up there from your pictures, all the little rock islands. What's been your experience exploring Desolation Wilderness and its surrounding areas?
So that area in general, I love Desolation Wilderness. It's probably my favorite. My goal when I was getting into hiking was to do Lake Aloha. It would have been my biggest hike I'd ever done. And it's like around 12 and a half miles. And at that time, I was like, I just want to, like, that was my push. I was like, if I could just do that hike, I feel like it'll just open the door to like, just keep pushing myself. And gosh, that hike is gorgeous. Like the whole beginning to the end. And first time when we did it, I want to say we did it in summer, like in like June or something with one of our friends. And you pass so many lakes. There's like Lower Echo Lake, Upper Echo Lake, which is kind of crazy because I don't know if you know about Echo Lake. They have a water taxi. And so they have like this whole setup where you go and you can either take the water taxi, cuts out about 2 miles, or you can take it going in 2 miles and then, or taking, coming out 2 miles. And it's kind of crazy. It depends how high the water is, that if it's available or not. But that was something really cool that we saw when we did it. But yeah, so anyways, back to Lake Aloha, it was just, the terrain is so different. Like you go through these trees, you're on this ridge line, like by the lakes, you have mountain views, you see all these peaks you want to hike. And then you come and you like come out to this area where it's just this backdrop of just like these granite rocks and mountains and these islands. And you're just like, wow, it's like, it's completely different. It's nothing I've ever seen. And the water was like turquoise, emerald greens, and blues, cold as ever. I would say probably colder than Tahoe at that time. Uh, and it's just gorgeous. And it wasn't heavily trafficked at that time when we went, at least. But like, it is a very big prime backpacking area. And I can see why. Like, you can find all these little areas and these lakes and go nestle in and just camp and hang out. And I don't even know how many lakes are back there. There's so many. And you can just keep going. And it's so cool. Like, everything about it back there. Like, we've done Lake Aloha now, like, quite a bit. And one year we did it in May. And again, this is all different. Like, the terrain was all cleared, and all of a sudden we got to like the last 3 miles. It was just snow, tons of snow. Thankfully, it was packed down because we didn't have anything snow gear, like nothing. Yeah, it was ridiculous. But we got back there and we heard some guys screaming, but screaming like excited. He was like, woohoo! And we like look back there, and on the mountain ridge, they're just like backcountry skiing just down the mountains of Lake Aloha. And it was
No
the
way.
coolest thing. I was like, this is so awesome. I'm like, people are so cool. I'm like, they're just back here like
Oh
skiing
my
and shit.
goodness.
Like, who would know? Like, you would love it, Ivan. You would love backpacking there.
Oh,
It's like prime area, like so pretty.
that's what I hear. And I'm glad you mentioned that you got to see it with some snow. I think there's a picture in your feed where like it's iced over.
We've seen it completely iced over. It's crazy. It was like, we've seen it not, we've seen it completely dried out,
Mhm.
actually very low. And then we've seen it like partially frozen, and we've seen it just right. And then we've seen it completely frozen. So we've seen it like in every realm. And
Wow.
it is, every time I'm always just like, wow, like, this is so cool. It blows me away every time. And it hurts. That, I don't know what about that hike hurts me, but it always hurts me. I don't know if it's like the shell rock or something, like constantly gripping your ankles, trying to like brace yourself. But there's this part of the hike I'm always just like, fuck, I hate this part. But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna keep doing it because I love it.
Yeah, that payoff is something else. I got to ask Rachel, so the little islands that are out on the lake, they change throughout the season with the amount of water then, right?
Yes. So there you'll get some big
Oh.
islands out there, you'll get some little ones. Sometimes you'll only see a tree and you're just like, oh, there's a little island out there with a tree. And it's pretty wild. It's so cool. And people bring like floaties out there and stuff and like go hang out. People who are camping, they just go chill on an island. It's always so cool to see. Like, I'm always just, you don't know what you're going to see either. Like, the islands, like you just said, like they change every time. And when we did it actually back in November last year, it was another scenario where it was iced over partly and snowy. And so it was so cold when we got there. My poor husband, he's always like, that sucked. He's like, that day sucked. Because we worked our butts off to get there, and we were following someone's tracks, and they had perfectly made tracks for us to step in. So we didn't have to break trail. And we're like, oh, thank goodness, 'cause that's so much harder. And so like we were following this person, and it was only like that person ahead of us and then us. And we got there and it got so cold. It was so windy. We couldn't even sit down because it was like freezing. I was like, if I sit down, if I like, I'm going to freeze my butt off. Like, I can't. So we stood for like 5 minutes, ate our snacks, got some pictures, and we like tailed on out of there. And I was like, I was like, we're even gonna stay. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Less than 5 minutes, we were out. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, Mike. Like, we have to do this. But it was so cool to see it like that.
Yeah, you had it all to yourself beside the guy that was breaking trail, right?
Yeah, I don't know where he went, but he kept going. I saw his tracks go across the lake, so I was like, I don't know where you went. I don't know if you're alive. I don't hear anything.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so he went somewhere.
Now, Rachel, I feel like I could probably talk to you about Lake Tahoe for like the whole episode, but you've done some amazing things, like you said, down in southern Utah, but you got a chance to really explore Southern California and other parts of the Southwest, hitting up some other national parks. What would you say are your favorite hiking or outdoor destinations outside of the Lake Tahoe region?
Anything Utah. I will buy most of my family lives there right now. And so whenever I go visit them, they always take me on these new trails or show me new areas. And it's just never ending with Utah. And it's funny because when they come see me, they're always the same way. They're like, oh, anything Tahoe, anything Tahoe. And I'm like, so I love that we have that mutual like understanding of our areas. But like, yeah, Utah is just, oh, there's just so much. If I didn't live here, I would probably live in Utah.
Yeah, I think like Utah and then parts of Colorado are just an outdoor paradise year round.
I've never been to Colorado. I think Colorado looks awesome.
Now, in California, you've had some really great national park visits to like Joshua Tree and Death Valley, but one that really caught my attention was back in 2022. You got a chance to summit Half Dome, which I think is on a lot of our bucket list. Can you share a little bit about that experience?
Oh my goodness, Half Dome. So it's kind of crazy. My friend won permits 2022, and she was like, "Get ready, we're doing Half Dome." And I was like, and we've always wanted to. So it was really cool. But when someone actually gets the permits, you're like, oh shit, it's real. Like, this isn't a joke. I'm like, how much time do we have? Like, and I'm like, should I do it? Should I not do it? And so she found out in April when they released and let people know who got the permits. And in April of 2022, I had never been to Yosemite. And it's only like 4 hours away from me. And I'd never been. And so I was like, oh gosh, I don't know. Like, I've never been in the area. Like, maybe someone who really who's experienced there should go. And she's like, no, she's like, you're coming. Yes, you're doing this. And I was like, okay, when do you have to know that I'm going? She's like, by June. So I'm like, okay. So my friend who actually spontaneously decided to go to Yosemite invited me, and he was like, do you want to come? It's last minute. I don't feel bad if you can't come or anything, but I was like, I gotta go. And so I booked my room and I met him down there, and we hiked Yosemite Point for my first hike in Yosemite.
Wow.
And that was a wild hike. That was insane. And the person I went with, which you actually know, his name's Gino.
Shout out to Gino.
So Gino and I were hiking this hike. And if you ever hiked with Gino is a beast. Like, bears don't even come up to Gino. They size him up and they're like, no, I'm okay. And they turn the other way because that's Gino. And he but he's awesome. He's so cool. So when we were hiking this, I was struggling. I was like, these switchbacks, they're killing me. But it was so fun to see all these people doing the same thing as us and getting a feel for it and everything, that whole area. And when we got to the top, it was really cool because we could see Half Dome. And I was like, oh my gosh. Now, and this, I hadn't committed yet. So I was like, that's the hike I'm going to be doing. So I have to look at that Half Dome, cross the way and think, okay, should I do this or not? So after that hike, I came back and I told my friend, I was like, yes, I'm in. It's I'll join you. And she was like, fantastic. We're doing it in September. So we had 5 months to train. So at that point, I was my biggest hike had been 12.5 miles, Lake Aloha. And I was I kept reading on Half Dome. Everybody was it's just a long hike. It's very long. You just have to prepare yourself and bring enough water, all the things, all these different perspectives on the hike. And I was I would see somebody say, we came in at 17 miles, we came in at 16.5, we came in at 19. And whatever the highest number was, I shot for that. Because I was I don't want to be upset that I can't do this. And so I kept training, and I started doing each week. I started doing bigger hikes. I would start 9 miles, 10 miles, and I was constantly working out my upper body, my full body, everything you can think of. And it was so funny because I can't do a push-up to save my life. And so I'm sitting here thinking, I can't do this. I can't do Half Dome. And I'm my husband just laughed. He's like, you can do half. He's like, you'll be fine. So I chipped away all summer doing all these long hikes, and I did 10 miles and I got to 15. And then I did another big hike with the infamous Gino. And that one nearly killed me, but it was 19 miles. We came in at 19 miles, and I was like, that's the one. That's going to seal the deal. That tells me I can do it. And so, and then we went in September to do Half Dome, and we got up super early, got to the trailhead. There happened to be 4 girls, my friend and 2 other girls that are her friends. And we just took our time and literally just supported each other all the way up, constantly eating snacks, salt pills, hydrating. I can't even tell you. We did everything we could to survive. Aspirin when we got to a certain point because I was like, shit, I'm already in pain, stuff like that. And we hadn't even gotten to the Half Dome yet. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, so it was the longest hike I've ever done and the longest day I've ever hiked in general. And when we got to Subdome, it was just one of the coolest things to see everybody just like struggling their way there. I was like, this is insane that this many people think this is fun, really. Like this is kind of crazy. And well, this is the real deal. Like, and what was cool that like I had to keep telling myself, like, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. But I never had that in my head. Like I know my limits, you know, and I know what I'm capable of, but it was just funny. I never doubted myself doing this, climbing the cables. And we had our little gloves because you want to have some good grippy gloves and you hold the cables. And it was wild. And we let our group up and we like, and it's wild because when you're on the cables, like I've got some arms. I've got like a 6-foot wingspan. Okay. So the cables, people don't really think about, they're pretty far apart and you're crossing people as they're coming down, you're coming up. So I can hold both sides. Some people can't reach the other side. So they're holding like one side and going up that way. And so for me, I'm just like, oh, I'm like, I didn't think about that struggle. Like, because I'm like lanky and stuff. Yeah. So we're like crossing paths with people and coming down and happened to talk to a few people who were like having little panic attacks. As they were coming down, a guy actually from Reno was coming down and he was having, he was like, I'm never doing this again. Like, this is ridiculous. And then you had people like constantly apologizing for like taking their time. And I like, my whole goal was to keep the vibe chill. I'm like, we got time. I'm like, nobody's rushing up these cables. Nobody's rushing down these cables. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere, literally. Like, take your time coming down. I'm coming up. And I had like the sweetest people be like, thank you so much just for like encouraging us and just being patient with us. Cause that's the biggest thing, right? Is you get out there and you just like, I don't want to slow people down. I don't want to get in the way. I just don't bother them. You know, I just want to not be the last one kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm not about that. I'm like, we're all out here experiencing this and we're literally on cables. Like, there's no need to be high stressed or like be like, hurry up. We want to get up that mountain. You know, like we don't need that. Like none of that. So it was really cool because the whole group on the cables at that time, the vibe was just so kind and so like understanding. And when we got to the top, it was just like, it was insane. Like I would do it in a heartbeat again. Like it was the coolest thing ever. Long day, but very cool. We were some of the last people coming down because we spent like forever up top, like just dying and like can't believe we did this kind of thing. But and then when you get back down, you're like, oh shoot, I have 8-9 more miles to get back to the car. So yeah, but it was very cool. It was such a cool experience. And it really, I feel like that group was perfect that I went with. And I'm so thankful I got to do it with them. It was awesome.
Yeah, and your captures really are incredible from that trip. And I'm always curious, especially with those type of hikes. Like, was the incline to get to the summit of Half Dome more challenging, or was it the decline coming back down?
I'd say the incline for me was probably took me longer. Not just because of people, because you're like it's a little slower to go up. And when you come down, it really depends on how comfortable you are. I went down like facing outward, like if that makes sense. Now I didn't turn my back like a ladder, like coming down. Like I was like facing out and that was easier for me. And I read both ways. And some people like to, you know, were comfortable this way. And I was like, and I felt comfortable walking on down that very steep dome. And I was just like, and I got down like, I want to say it took us probably like 35 minutes to get up. And then it probably took me like 10 minutes to get down.
Okay.
And I like stopped midway and just like stood on one of the, there's like a little thin plank you can stand on, like wooden plank.
Mm-hmm.
And I just stood there because there was no one, it was just us coming down. So I stood like in the middle of the cables and just like looked around and it was the coolest thing. It was the sickest thing. You just see all the granite and like the canyons and just like, I'm like, no shit, we just did this. Like it's like blows your mind. And so I'm standing here on this like tiny piece of wood. And I was like, it was really cool. Like, and I don't, you know, I think I would go down the same way again. Like if I came down those cables, like it just really depends on how comfortable you are with yourself.
And, you know, you mentioned about bringing and keeping the chill vibes on the trail. And that's one thing that really kind of gravitated me towards your Instagram is because that also translates to your profile because you not only share pictures and videos from your amazing hikes, but you also have some really empowering and motivating words attached to them. And yeah, and you also are, you know, very candid and vulnerable in some of those posts and honest on the platform. How has it been growing this wonderful online community? And just like me, you've had a chance to meet some of these friends from Instagram that are now real life friends.
It's been pretty awesome. I've met some incredible people out there, and especially through Instagram, that's kind of been like one of my favorite things about it is the connections we have with people, and kind of puts your faith back into humanity because you're just kind of like everybody's going through something, like big or small, it doesn't matter. The gravity of it is their own, and I felt like being out there just talking and like just kind of telling things how it is for me, maybe it would open a bridge for someone else to feel that they're not alone. And it was really cool to see how that like kind of unfolded where, for example, I had a situation where I was going through a hard time and I just kind of voiced myself about it because I'm like, it's not always rainbows and butterflies, and it's not always a downer situation either. Because I'm a firm believer in like like not like technically manifesting, but like in looking in things with an optimistic, like positive perspective. And the more you focus on that, it becomes that. Like you kind of live and breathe it. And like the more you focus on the negative, it tends to gear towards the negative. And so I just started sharing things that I was going through, and it was more for myself. Like I was sharing more for myself to just put it out there. It was kind of like I was able to release, like, I felt good to just say that, you know? And then it had so many people reach out to me and say like, I'm going through this too, or I've had this happen to me, and it just kind of like opened that door for us to all be like, wow, there's some people going through some really hard times, and not saying that your hard time's not any like less significant than theirs, but it's just like there's some strong people out there that are just making it happen, showing up every day. And this community that we have is blows my mind. Like the people are amazing. Like the things they do, they're resilient and they're empowering and they're supportive. And it's just like you get so many different perspectives and ideas and just views. And that's what's also really cool is because we don't all agree, even in our community, even though we all have a commonality for like hiking and getting outdoors and nature and stuff. We don't all have the same agrees. Like someone likes pineapple pizza. I hate pineapple pizza. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like just like in this example, but like, and I think that's what's so beautiful about all of this is like, if you can open that door and show people that like, we may not agree on things or like we just have differences or whatever, but we can still talk about it and still be friends after it, or just like be kind to each other still afterwards. I'm like, that goes a long way. And I just think like people in general, like we need each other. And when you can share that with one another, that you're going through something, or even sharing a hard, tough discussion with somebody, it kind of makes people realize like, oh, I can talk about that. Like I don't need to go through that alone or hold it and feel this alone, you know. And I've just seen so much, not only my own vulnerability, but just like other people that's inspired me to be like, oh, they're going through something too. I'm like constantly inspired by people like online. It's just like it's so cool that it's been reciprocated.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows up at the right time. It's so weird. Like all of a sudden, like, because you know, you take this time to like share your feelings and post something, and all of a sudden somebody actually reads it and like says something about it or messages about it. And I don't expect anything from anybody. Like I don't expect people to like to go deep dive and read my stuff and like give me a heartfelt anything. I don't expect that. But when you get one, it's like, wow, like, okay. I'm like, here we go. I'm like, and that's what I love about it. I like those hard conversations. I like those thought-provoking discussions, and that just kind of broaden my own understanding of people and life. And it's just, I think hiking is really, and just getting outdoors has really opened that for me. And that's been like the biggest like staple in my life in general, like how I view things now and how I do things. And I love it. And the people I've met are so cool. Like I've met a handful of people in like people in person, and they've all come here, and it's really cool. I actually have really good friends that I like consider like my best friends. And I'm just like, who would have thought? I would have probably never met these people. And here I am like talking to these people and all. And like, as much as like social media can be a hinder in some senses, when used right and just when used for you in your advantage, like you can get some really good things out of it. And I think that community is it. Like even you doing this right now is like, it's amazing. Like you're working all day here, you're putting these like legit podcasts together. Like it's a lot of work. I'm like, I'm in awe of you. I'm like, geez.
Oh, appreciate that, Rachel. I'm always in awe of like people like yourself and other people, like you said, because a lot of people do get that vulnerability online and they get it reciprocated. And I felt it as well, in the sense of I see somebody posting that they're feeling similar to what I'm feeling, and you know, here's an outlet, and having that common ground in that kind of situation is so beneficial, because I think sometimes you feel like you're the only one going through it
Yeah.
until you hear from, the community that, no, this is something that I'm going through, or others are going through.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like just because I share something, you have to share your world or everything personal, but it's
Yeah.
just when I see people share something, it's allowed me to feel like comfortable enough to have and say something that I wouldn't normally say. And it gets easier for me, I think. Like I'll see someone having a hard time and I want to chime in and say something, just let them know, like, I'm here. Like I genuinely care. Like this is what, and I think that's a hard thing to get nowadays. Getting an actual person who's genuine about the response to you. Cause there's a lot of surface care, right? Where everyone's just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, cool, whatever. But like when you get those in-depth, real connections, it's different. It's a whole different thing, and it's rejuvenating, and it touches your soul in a way that you're just kind of like it has a whole ripple effect. Like it just
Mm.
kind of and it kind of trickles into your life and into other people's lives and into your like daily work life or whatever you're doing, and it's just kind of like, huh, I didn't even think about it like that, and I'm like, this is pretty cool.
That's a really great perspective. I hadn't even thought about it like that either. But yeah, it's definitely a rippling effect, not just, on social media, but then it extends out to your real life.
Yeah. Cause
That's
like I know
wonderful.
people like to always say like, oh, everything's just a highlight reel and don't believe everything you see online and people just post the
Yeah.
good times, which is majority true. But at the same time, I feel like we have to remember we can't be ignorant that other people aren't going through things and remember that people are choosing what they want to share because that's what they want. If I shared all my dark times constantly, it'd bring me down. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was saying, I don't want to put that out there. Like, yeah, I'll talk about it here and there, but I don't want to constantly post my dark times because it's just that's something that like I'm dealing with that I want to overcome constantly. Like,
Yeah.
and granted, it's not like I always forget too that, or I have to remind myself that there is a sense of toxic positivity where it's like a little too much, a little too constantly thinking that we're all happy, we're all doing this. And I feel that I hope I feel like show that that's not the case. That's kind of my thing. Like, I hope people realize like it's not always happy and it's okay not to be happy all the time. And I feel like we appreciate the good times a lot better when you go through things and when you kind of are aware of that and recognize that you're having a hard time, which makes us like in the grand scheme, like hiking, like you get out there and you're just like, man, I was pissed off at that. And here I am, like, that doesn't even matter. Like retrospect, we're not even going to care about this anymore. Like if this all went away tomorrow, like we have this gorgeous planet that we can all be out there like hiking mountain peaks and running to waterfalls and stuff like that, It just makes you feel very small, like a very small thing. And I think it all starts in our head. It all starts with us and how we want to view things. And I think hiking has really brought that out of me to like remember that. It's a huge grounding place for me.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, it keeps us balanced. You got to find that middle ground.
Yeah.
And I think you also do that really well on your Instagram profile,
Thank you.
because on the flip side, you post some really hilarious memes that people connect with. And for me, the one that got me really laughing out loud was the All Trails one about like,
Yeah.
I'm 8 miles into a 6-mile hike. And I think a lot of people that use All Trails regularly have
Oh my
been
gosh,
there.
it's like a new joke. Like poor All Trails, but sorry. Like it's
Yeah.
like they just it's funny. I've like All Trails was like my first app I used for hiking. And so I love their maps. Great maps.
Mhm.
They've always helped me. I've never had an issue there. But I always laugh when I do certain hikes where I'm like, oh, it says 8 miles. Yeah, it's probably 10. It's gonna be 10. Like I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like even like a hike I do now that like quite often it's like whenever I literally clock it in from the parking lot, which is like the trailhead, to the top and back, it's like 10.5 miles. But for some reason it says 9.5. I'm like, I know it's 10.5. I've done this like 100 times. I know it's 10.5. But we'll just let people think it's 9.5 so they can try it and then be pleasantly upset when it's 10.5. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I feel like, I'm in a place where I'm like, I love comedy. And my thing is, I love to laugh and I love to make people laugh. And if we can have a common area where like humor is just laughter is just funny. Like if you can't it's hard. I'm not very serious about some things. And so I think I'm very lighthearted about things. It's very hard for me to get offended by like anything, which is wild, but I really don't. And so when I make light of things, it's all in good humor and good manner, but it's just, I sometimes have a very dry sense of humor. And I think that's hard for people to understand, but I always love it when people get it or like reference it back. I'm like, yeah, you get it. I'm like, that's awesome.
Oh,
And all people like message me and be like, that really happened to me. It's not funny. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like,
you got to laugh through some of those situations. Now, these last few questions, Rachel, are questions we always like to ask our guests. When it comes to summits, or maybe even just the end of the hike, is there a regular routine or thing that you do? Like for some, it's maybe packing a favorite snack or drink. For others, it's having a moment of zen. And then for a lot of us, it's maybe the favorite meal afterwards. Is there something that you regularly do when you reach your summit or when you make it back out?
Yes. So I love food, as the rest of the world does. But so my husband and I, we love getting a cheeseburger and French fry afterwards. Anything greasy, the greasier the better. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do love French fries. I love a good cheeseburger. We have this place we go to. It's like a little hole in the wall, this burger joint in South Lake. And we'll go there after any hike that we do down south. But I'm like, I don't care to have a beer or anything like that. But food, oh my gosh, give me all the French fries, all the cheeseburgers. I will devour them. And yeah, that's what that's our go-to. Love it.
And I don't know what it is about an after hike burger that it's something else. Yeah. It's elevated.
Yeah, I'm all disgusting and I'm all eating disgusting. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm like, this stuff's so good. I earned this burger. I'm like,
exactly.
This is why I like. This is why I really like. Just kidding. For those burgers.
Now, the other question I like to ask is, we always pack the essentials, but for a lot of us, we have a luxury item that we like to carry, whether it's a tripod or, some sort of favorite candy that maybe you don't have on a regular basis. Is there a luxury item that you tend to carry in your pack list regularly?
So yes, during like the fall or like winter hikes, we carry a full out Jetboil and mugs and hot chocolate and like a pound of marshmallows. No, not a pound, but a lot of marshmallows. And so I started like, I love hot chocolate and it's just like a little comfort thing, especially when it's cold and you want to be cozy. And so we started, whenever we get up early for our hikes, I was like, let's get like something to warm us up at the top. Like it feels good, personally. So my husband and I, we just started packing the Jetboil, not a thermos or anything. Cause I'm like, we want it hot. We want it hot and we want it on the top of the mountain, but it has to be fresh and everything. So we started packing. Like that was our extra bonus. We packed the hot chocolate in mugs and Jetboil. And at the very top, like we hiked Mount Tallac one time and it was so cold. It was like end of fall. So it was going to be winter and it was freezing up top. And we found this like little, like we pressed up against this rock and we just got our Jetboil out and we're like freezing, shaking to death. And then and we made that hot chocolate. Oh my gosh, it felt so good. It like brought us back to life. Nothing was fighting us for it. Like normally chipmunks would probably come out and try to like fight us for it. So nothing was fighting us. So it was really nice to like just make it in peace. And then, we enjoyed hot chocolate on the summit. And at that point, we're like, we're doing this every time. Like we're bringing this every time. Like if we go like a morning early hike down to the lake and it's freezing on the lake, we'll have hot chocolate on the lake. Like it's just become one of our little things that we take with us everywhere. And it's so funny when people see us out there like making it. They're like, that's such a good idea. And like, I didn't even bring my coffee or anything. I didn't even think about it. And it just like cracks me. I'm like, well, whatever you bring out here, get it out of here because make sure you pack it out.
Exactly.
You can pack it in. I'm like, if you're going to bring something bonus, you better pack that shit out of here. I'm like,
I think we're going to have to try this this year because I'm starting to see a lot of people, whether it's coffee, hot chocolate, or tea, but rather than doing the instant stuff where it's just the powder that you mix in, like, if you're going to pack it, like have it be good and enjoyable. And
it's like the right amount of sugar and it warms you up. I mean, it doesn't have to be hot. You can make it whatever you want to drink, but like, there's something about that sugar because I'm usually like caffeine and stuff doesn't do anything for me, but like sugar doesn't really do anything either, but it's a comfort. And then your body is like burning it up, so it's like, ooh, we got some energy. Like, let's go, let's keep going. And I'm just like loaded up with some marshmallows and I will down that thing. I will burn the shit out of my throat doing it and I will go.
Now, is there a particular brand of hot chocolate that you go with or do you switch it up?
I see the brand in my head. I don't know what it's called. It's like, It's in a little blue box. It's like the well-known brand that you could get anywhere.
Oh,
It
yeah.
comes like in they come in little packs too. Those are the ones we buy.
Is it the Swiss one? Swiss
Yeah.
something?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one. We get the little
Okay.
packs, and it's because it's easier, and we don't even pack a spoon because we use the pack as our spoon. And that was by choice, and people thought we forgot our spoon, and I said no, we did not forget our spoon. We are using the whole pack as our spoon. But yeah, it's easy. Pour it in there. Gotta bring marshmallows if you like that. I mean, up it, bring a can of whipped cream. I mean, who's gonna judge you? People would be like, I want some of that whip. And then, someone would love that at the top of the summit. Start instead of shots all around, whip all around.
Yeah, I'm starting to see more and more people take some comfort foods. I've seen a charcuterie board
Oh my
up
gosh, yeah.
on a summit. Yeah, I'm all about taking a nice little comfort snack up there.
Yeah, especially if you've got the room in your bag. Bring it. Just do it.
Now, Rachel, we're a quarter of the way into 2024, so we still got the spring, summer, and fall months ahead of us. Do you have any hiking or travel goals for 2024?
I really want to backpack Reflection Canyon. That's been on my bucket list forever. It's in southern Utah. And I have a friend that actually recently did it, and it just keeps I keep seeing people do it, but one of my friends did it recently, and I saw her photos and everything, and just amped me up. I'm like, I need to make this happen. So that's my big goal, is to go backpacking there. I'm actually going to Sedona for the first time this year, which is really cool. I've never been to Sedona, so we'll see how that goes. Possibly the Grand Canyon. That might be squeezed in there somehow. And I'm hoping to hike Half Dome because I submitted for permits. We'll see how that goes. If I get permits, Ivan, you coming?
Oh, I'm down, Rachel.
Yay. Yeah, I know. I mean, it just my goal is really to just hike this area more. There's a lot of hikes in my own area that I haven't done yet that I'm excited to explore. And that's kind of where I'm looking just in general. Because my husband's a golf professional, so we can't really travel during the summer. So we're usually this is home base and we hike on the weekends. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And the trips will be more in the fall.
Well, that was it for the regular questions, Rachel. The last bit of the podcast is the this or that questions. I'm going to give you 2 hiking related topics and you just choose which one you prefer out of the 2. So the first one is steep incline or steep decline?
Steep incline for sure, because my knees, you just can't do it. You know what I'm saying? I just thinking about it hurts. And I'm like, gosh, steep inclines. Yes.
Okay. This one's a tough one. Waterfalls or summits?
Oh, yeah. I love water. I love waterfalls. I love water in general. I think I'm a summit girl. I love getting to that peak and looking down on the waterfall.
I like that.
Possibly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's sometimes you down and point out those waterfalls. Yes.
Now, this one is a trail system question. When it comes to trails, do you prefer one that has switchbacks or would you rather just go straight up?
Oh my gosh. I prefer switchbacks now. It used to be straight up just to get it over with. And now it's switchbacks, enjoy it, enjoy the pain, feel the pain. Let's slow down the pain is what it's about. That's what it is.
Now, I'm curious for you, do you use trek poles or do you prefer to be freehand?
I use trekking poles now. I actually prefer it. It's actually helped a lot with how I distribute my weight and just movement in general. But yeah, trekking poles are a game changer, especially decline and everything, really. I'll use them. There's certain little hikes that I probably won't use them, but I bring them now with everything. I'm I'm too old for that shit. Come on, we're gonna use trekking poles. It's okay.
Yeah.
There's no shame, people. I don't want people got to hate on those things.
Oh, I'm right there with you. Now, when it comes to your footwear, do you wear hiking boots or have you switched to trail runners?
Oh, I've actually never owned a pair of trail runners. I just do hiking boots, and should not share this. I have about 10 pairs. Are you shocked, Ivan?
I was shocked.
You're okay. No, I think I probably don't. I think I probably have 7 or 8.
That's manageable, yeah.
You're it's not better. It's you're it didn't make it better. No, I'm just kidding.
I think I'm up to, if I include my trail runners, I'm probably up to 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
because I have my winter, my spring, the trail runners, depending on the trail. If it's going to be like just a long gradual one, I'll just use trail runners. But anything with the incline or decline, I'm still rocking hiking boots.
Okay.
Something about the ankle protection, I think, for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a big thing. Oh, my gosh.
Now, here's another loop trail question for you. Do you prefer a loop trail or an out back trail?
I think I prefer an out and back trail, probably because I look at it like, oh my gosh, I have to come back through this kind of attitude. But I don't mind loops. I think they're fun too. But I think I like the out and backs. I feel like they're a little more challenging to me.
Now, this is a new question for this season, Rachel, but when it comes to carrying your water, do you go old school with just a regular water bottle, or are you using a hydration pack or a Camel pack?
Oh, I use a hydration pack, my water reservoir for sure. It's just easier. It's just like, you just have it right there. You don't have to like stop and open my bag or anything like that. For me, at least. But sometimes I still bring extra water in general, depending on if I have certain electrolyte packs and stuff like that. But the most part, yeah, it's my Camelback.
Now, these next two are probably our hardest ones, but sunset hikes or sunrise hikes?
Oh my gosh. I love sunsets. I love them so much. But I'm always up early enough for the sunrises. My gosh. I would say I think I really like a sunset hike because they're usually not as long for me, and it's something I can do after work or just like something quick, and it's just so like it's not as I'm trying to think. It's specifically for the sunset, so I like that. Sunrise hikes, I'm like, it's because I'm going to do an all-day hike. So it's kind of like, it's not intentional. It's like, because I want to give myself all day. But the sunset, it's intentional, if that makes sense. I would say sunset hikes.
And then spring wildflowers or fall colors?
Ooh, I would say fall colors. I'm a fall baby. I love the crisp air. I love the colors in general. I think it's perfect for hiking because the bugs are finally going away and you don't have to wear all the layers, but it's just, and you're not like dying of heat. Like, it's like you have to layer in the spring a lot and then you're like dying. But I still love spring hiking. It's so gorgeous. But like, I love the fall. Fall is like my favorite.
And then the last one is, do you prefer a long gradual hike or something short and steep?
Short and steep are sucky. No, just kidding. I like a long gradual hike, preferably. I just like I love being out there. So I think I don't mind the short and steep ones, but I think I like the long gradual ones better for sure. Give me those all day 20-mile hikes. Just kidding.
Well, that was it, Rachel, for the this or that questions. If listeners haven't had a chance to follow you online yet, what are some of the places on social media that they could follow your adventures on? Oh,
I have Instagram, just Rachel Obendorf. That's my name. It was nothing creative at all about that. Yeah, that's all I got. I just do Instagram. I mean, I dabble in TikTok, but I prefer not to overload my brain with stuff.
And we'll be sure to put the Rachel's Instagram link in the episode show notes so people can follow along. Rachel, it was a blast talking to you and learning and hearing about your experiences. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to speak with me.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
And that brings us to the end of this episode alongside Rachel. We extend our heartfelt thanks to her for coming on the podcast. Make sure to stay connected and follow her upcoming adventures on Instagram at Rachel Obendorf. And don't forget to check out the episode show notes for more. We have an incredible lineup of episodes planned throughout the spring months, and we can't wait to share them with you. New episodes will be dropping every Monday with occasional bonus episodes on Fridays. To ensure you never miss out on those thrilling tales, remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to join our vibrant community on Instagram at Hikes and Mics. We'll be sharing episode visuals, my own personal hiking content, and so much more. Let's stay connected and continue to inspire each other on this remarkable journey. As we bid farewell, remember to tread those happy trails, embrace the great outdoors, and keep the spirit of adventure alive. Until next time, my fellow explorers, happy hiking. This episode's music was created by Ketsa. Follow him on Instagram at Ketsa Music. This episode is brought to you by Flip Socks. Whether you're on the trail, on the job, or in the yard, Flip Socks will keep Mother Nature out of your boots with their innovative nylon sleeve. You no longer need to worry about any annoying debris getting trapped in your boots during your hikes. Simply flip down the nylon sleeve over any boot to prevent Mother Nature from finding its way inside, keeping your feet comfortable all day long. To get your first pair, visit flipsockswithaz.com and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And for listeners who use the promo code at checkout, I'll be donating 100% of the Season 2 promo code proceeds to Big City Mountaineers, who provide transformative experiences through connections to nature that strengthen life skills and build community for youth and disinvested communities across the nation. So if you're tired of bits and pieces of the trail finding its way into your hiking boots, pick up a pair of Flip Socks today with the promo code HikesMikes10 to get 10% off. For website and promo code, see the episode description.